Today is September 1st, 2020, and we are visiting with 89-year-old William Lester Richardson Sr., a Davie County native. This is Jane McAllister. My videographer today is Kathy Beach. And Mr. Richardson, we appreciate your letting us do this today.
Yeah.
I think the obvious place to start is with your family. I understand that you are one of 16 children.
Yes.
So tell me where you fall in the birth order and tell me a little bit.
I was born in Callahan Township, Davie County, close to Sherfield, where I was born. And we lived there quite a few years, and then moved about. My father was a farmer, tenant farmer,
Okay.
and blacksmith.
Okay.
And we lived south of Moxville by the railroad for quite a few years, and then moved to Moxville about late 41 or 42.
Okay.
And lived most of the wartime years in town.
In town.
Yes.
Okay. Of the 16 children, where do you fall in order?
Let's see. No, Shirley. Fourth from the bottom.
She'll be
Fourth from the bottom.
She'll be 12.
Yeah.
Fourth from the bottom.
You know, my dad used to have to reprimand the fifth child in my family,
Yeah.
but he'd have to go through the first four
Yes.
names to remember
Figure
the
where
fifth
you're
name.
at.
So I understand your struggle.
Yeah.
So I have to ask this because this just occurred to me. Did your mother have a kitchen table big enough to seat all 18 people?
Well, the way it worked was, when I come along, my older sisters and brothers were gone.
Gotcha.
They
They left the house.
yes.
Yes,
they
see,
were
my
out.
mother had children from about 19 and 16 to 19 and 39.
And all single births.
Wow. Okay, well, we know how busy she was while your dad was
Yes,
farming and
yes,
blacksmithing.
and lived to be 92.
Oh, bless her heart.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. Tell me a little bit about your dad's farming and blacksmithing. What do you remember about his work?
Well, tenant farming, the way tenant farming is, you farm, you work on somebody else's farm, okay? And you get everything that you raise to eat, but everything, you grow stuff to sell, okay? And then you get a portion of what you sell. Then the owner of the property gets the rest. I don't remember how that worked, what the percentage was, but that's the way it worked.
Okay. So needless to say, that helped feed a lot of hungry kids.
Yes, well, living see, when World War II opened up, I was 10 years old when it happened. Okay, now you was lucky if you lived on a farm during the Depression, because you couldn't buy stuff, you didn't have money to buy stuff, and you raised what you eat and canned stuff for winter, and dry goods and stuff, you know, potatoes, put up potatoes to keep, stuff like that. But corn in the crib, and if you run out of anything else to eat, you would always go to the corn crib and get some corn and make hominy.
Oh yeah.
So
Absolutely.
see, that helped, but most of the time you had meat, because you had the hogs, kill hogs, and you had meat. So, but things were just, you know, kids growing up now don't have a clue as to how things were. Now that they got so much, they go to the store and buy so much, and people go to the store and buy their groceries. They don't grow anything. A lot of people don't. And it's just, you know, it's altogether different world unless you live through that, through the Depression. You just don't realize, you know, how things really were. And
You're exactly right.
but I hope we never have to go there again.
I do too. I'm with you on that, for sure. Tell me about your schooling. I understand that you started at Cheshire School, right?
Cheshire School, close to Sherfield, and my grandfather sold the land for that building site.
Okay.
So I went there 2 years, I think 2 years, before we moved to Moxville, or close to Moxville, and I started Moxville School. So, but he was a blacksmith too. He tended farms and was a blacksmith, and that way he got a little extra money, but not much, but a little extra money to help out.
Okay. All right. So, tell me what it was like in a one-room school with a range of grades, right?
Yes. Well, you
How
started.
did that work?
You started in when you come in the door. I remember the way I remember it, on the right-hand side on the wall, everybody had what they call a cubby hole.
Okay.
Put your coat or your overshoes or overcoat or whatever you had, and your lunch. Took your lunch with you. Put
Okay.
your lunch in there. All right. Now you start off like first grade, first, second, third, fourth.
Okay.
See, and one teacher taught it all.
Okay.
So
It had to have been noisy in there. Was it not noisy in that classroom?
it was something else, but you know, we didn't know any different.
Right.
I mean, everybody was alike back then, you know, country folk, nobody had nothing, so you wasn't left out.
And everybody learned how to read and write and
Yes.
spell and do
Yes.
their sums and
Yes, right.
and
So,
history. Was there a history subject, I assume?
Yeah, I love history and geography.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then the school went up through 7th grade. Is that right?
No, I think 6 or 7,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
At that time, because didn't have a high school,
This was
see,
before the-
everything was taught there before they even started high school.
Okay.
And of course, in later years, you know, everything, they built a new high school and everything, so.
Yep. But once somebody finished the 6 grades at Cheshire,
That-
then they were done.
Yeah, because
with
you
their
didn't have
education.
transportation to go anywhere.
That's true.
We didn't have an automobile, didn't have a telephone. You walked everywhere, or rode a horse or mule or went in a buggy or whatever.
Okay.
And, but once you didn't have transportation, if it was a school at Moxville, it was 10 mile away, you didn't have transportation
There's
to go.
no way you could even do that.
You couldn't go anyway.
Right.
And see, the buses didn't start till, well, at that time it wasn't bus running up there.
Okay.
So it's a lot different.
And then when you moved to Moxville, the school was on Cherry Street, right?
Yes, and we lived on Salisbury Street.
Okay.
It's his first block, say from where Horns is on the corner there now,
Uh-huh.
across the street, that corner, that's about the 3rd or 4th house down is where we live,
Okay.
Salisbury Street.
So you had a little bit of a walk to get across town to get to
Yeah,
school.
yeah, we walked, everybody's in town walked to school.
Wow.
You know, you didn't have a bus to pick people up, everybody
Right.
walked.
So one of the pictures that I love in the library collection is of kids all dressed up on parade, school parade, down around the court square. Do you remember that?
No,
Was
I don't remember that.
That might have been earlier. That was probably earlier.
Yeah, see, this was about 42 or when I went to Cherry Street.
Okay. Okay, yep. Okay. Well, tell me, if when you think back on your childhood, which memories in particular stand out for you?
Childhood, that, well, I loved the country. I live in the country and do things in the country. You know, kids go out and play in the woods. You know, we just, when you got big enough to go and be on your own, wow, I'd spend a lot of time in the woods, and be out at night, and never did worry about getting lost, because you knew your way around. Because moss grows on the north side of the trees, you know which way was north. And if it's clear, you see the stars or moon, you know which way to go. So I never did worry about getting lost. Just go out and roam around.
I'm here to tell you, if I was in the middle of the woods today, I'd starve to death. I wouldn't be able to find my way back out.
Well, but you learn stuff, you know, out like that. And I've always been that way. I knew which way to go. I just,
Wow.
you know. But,
Tell them about some of your adventures, you and your brothers, the snake chasing.
oh yeah, one of our favorite things in summertime, we had a bunch of us get together on like a Sunday afternoon, go in the woods and walk and hunt and find us a snake. And black snake, the racer, and we'd all get together and get a stick and make him mad. Get him to chase us. One would run a while, he gets tired and doesn't take over, just run the old snake about to death.
I hope you were always wise about the kind of snake that you were aggravating.
Don't try not to fall down.
Oh my word.
Yeah, I remember doing this. You make them mad, they'll chase you.
Oh my gosh. Did you ever, I hope you never chased one that was poisonous.
No.
You knew better.
No.
You probably knew better.
Yeah, get a stick, kill them.
Snake chasing.
Yes.
Okay, that's a new one on me.
Yeah.
I've never heard anything like that.
Yeah.
All right. Tell me a little bit about holidays in your childhood. What
Well,
was Christmas like? What other holidays did you observe?
the holiday didn't mean too much except Christmas.
Okay.
All the other holidays, most of us is just another day because we're busy working and really didn't know unless it's come up on a Sunday. It'd be different, but Christmas, we celebrated Christmas, but it wasn't like it is now. We strung popcorn for the tree, got running cedar. You know what running cedar is?
I do, I love it.
Okay, got running cedar and holly, put on the tree or put in the house to decorate with. And you know, that's what we done. And if we're lucky enough to get a some stick candy or apple or orange or something for Christmas,
Right.
maybe a pair of socks if we was lucky. That's about it.
Yep.
No toys, no nothing like that.
That changed a lot. I
Yeah,
think it was not until after the World War II
yeah.
that families could start to do things like that.
Well, things really opened up after the war.
Okay.
And
Alright.
that's when I started, that's after the war, I started working, driving a truck and so forth and so on.
Okay.
Haul lumber and coal and whatever. And so,
How far afield did you have to go when you were driving trucks like that?
when I first started, Tennessee, West Virginia, Virginia,
Okay.
that's about it.
Okay.
But later on, I worked for Roadway Express and went all over the country.
Okay. So you've seen a lot more than Davie County.
Yeah.
But you chose to come home.
Yeah, well,
After
like I
being
said,
away for a while.
right up here, I moved away in 1968 and went to work over there and was gone about 30 years altogether. Lived in Winston-Salem in Ohio,
Okay.
and but I moved back home about 30 years later.
Okay.
Because like I said, you know, you travel all over the country and you see everything, but there's no place like home.
There you go. So back you came.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about and church and how big a role church played in terms of your upbringing.
It was quite a bit because where we live, I could hear the church bell, It was closed. We could walk to church.
Okay.
And knew everybody. You know, everybody knew everybody in the community.
Yep.
And of course, Sunday was a big thing because everything happening in the community would be announced at church on Sunday.
Okay.
Because nobody had a radio or telephone or anything. So it was a big community gathering.
Okay.
You get all the information, get everything. Anybody sick or anything, why? And if anybody needed help, you know, in the farming community, there's a lot of swap work going on then. Everybody would go to their house and do stuff, and then vice versa, they'd come back and help you.
Okay.
You know, put in tobacco, pick cotton, shuck corn, barn raising, you build a barn, everybody come together and build a barn.
Yep. So everybody literally knew everybody else
Yes.
and pitched
Yeah.
in to help.
Yeah.
Nice. We miss that. Although this community is still, I think, pretty socially oriented. I think there are plenty of folks still around who pitch in to
Yes,
help.
yes.
That's
yeah.
one of the things I like about Davie County.
Now, Daddy, what did y'all grow on the farm? When you was talking about your, what did y'all grow on your farm?
We had, well, the cash crop was just cotton and tobacco.
Okay.
And, of course, we grew all the vegetables. Of course, spring of the year, you know, always had turnip patch. At winter time and springtime, you'd have early peas and stuff, you know, potatoes. Cook green beans, have green beans, and Mama would can, you know, can stuff for the winter. And that's what you had for winter time. But a little bit of everything, corn, whatever you're gonna eat, that's what we had, what we grow.
Right. Whatever you could put up
Yes, what you could put up
to eat
for the
6
winter.
months down the road.
Canned stuff, yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Good. How about social life? What'd you do for fun? Doesn't sound like you
Chase
had much
snakes.
time.
Chase snakes.
That's too funny.
Well, a cousin of mine lived on the next hill over from us at Sherfield. Now this is about 46, maybe 45. Anyway, we'd moved back to Sherfield after the war. But anyway, between us was a big branch, water. So in summertime, we'd go down to the dam, we'd branch up, make a swimming hole. Now, this guy's sister, Edward Gaither is his name, Edward Gaither, he's passed away now.
Okay.
But he had a sister, Mary Lois, she married Johnny Naylor. But anyway, we were just kids, you know, but anyway, we'd go down to the branch, build that and make us a swimming hole. We'd go down there and go swimming. Of course, we just shuck everything off, you know, and go swimming. So she slipped down there one day, got her clothes and hid them behind a tree.
Oh my gosh.
And she stood behind the tree and said, "Look what I got," shaking the pants.
Did she make you run home and you're all together, or did you get them back?
Said, "Give him a clothes, it's getting cold in here." But, you know, things like that, you don't forget.
Right.
You know, but kids now, I don't know. They got swimming holes in the backyard, a big pool to swim in.
Exactly. Very different swimming holes.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
Tell me about some of the businesses in town. Do you remember?
Yeah, well, the biggest business in town at that time was C.C. Sanford's.
Gotcha. Yep.
They run a department store, two-story department store, which the building's still there. I think pool hall's in there now,
I think so.
in that building. All right, and they had C.C. Sanford Motor Company, which sold Ford motor cars, and later on they had a tractor, sold tractors.
Okay,
after the war when you could get them.
okay,
But, had service station, SO, I believe it's a SO service station there, which is a lawyer's office now, little building.
yes,
That was a service station.
okay,
And of course, Boxville Furniture, on the corner where the 101 restaurant is now.
okay,
That was a furniture store.
okay,
Okay, and on down the street, you had, Hendricks,
uh-huh,
George Hendricks, dry goods store. You had, drugstore, Princess Theater,
yeah,
and the hotel. Next, and then I don't know what was in there where the jewelry store is. I don't remember what was there.
okay,
But across the street where the bar is on the corner, right there beside of what was Horn's
office, Howard
Office.
Boyle,
in that corner there, that was 5 and 10.
okay,
Rents.
Rents, that's right, 'cause I
Rents.
saw
Yeah,
the
Ritz,
photograph.
Ritz 5 and 10.
Okay.
One of my older sisters worked there.
Okay,
And down the street from there, of course, you had, next door to it was a grocery store.
oh,
I don't remember who run that, but it was a grocery store.
okay,
And then on down the street from there, back toward the square, you had C.G. Angel's jewelry store. And next to that was American Cafe. American Cafe.
oh, yeah, okay,
All right, and then in the alleyway, which is right beside of that, there's an alleyway there.
uh-huh,
All right. Taxi, they run a taxi stand there. After it started about 45 or 6 or something like that.
huh,
Run a taxi stand there, and you could go through that alleyway, and it was a chair factory at the back of that.
is that the Haynes Chair Factory?
No, Haynes was on across the railroad track.
Okay,
I don't remember what the name of this
Okay.
was, but there was a chair factory. You go through that alley to get to it, and go around to the back.
okay,
There's a road around to the back. You come in the back way,
okay,
and but it was there. And then the next building, which is a big building, that was the Long Building.
okay,
Dr. Long had his office there. Had rooms, had rooms where delivered children, babies, and so on and so forth.
uh-huh,
But he built later. He built his office on South Main Street, on the corner where you turn in. The first road to the right on South Main,
okay,
on the corner,
yes,
is where he built his office, Dr.
Okay.
Long.
gotcha,
Yeah. And then of course, post office was across the street from C.C. Sanford's on the corner there,
okay,
where Julie's doll shop was.
oh.
That was the post
wow.
office.
Okay,
And down that street, you had you had a stairway upstairs, and there was a dentist office up there.
okay.
Okay.
Dr. Rodwell, was that Dr. Rodwell? No, that's okay, I know,
Dr. Anderson,
yes,
no, Dr. Anderson's office was upstairs over the 101 Cafe.
right,
Is where his
that's
office
right,
is at.
that's what I'm thinking,
All right, and next to that walkway upstairs, stairway, was the barber shop
oh,
in the corner there, and then drugstore in the corner.
okay,
drugstore there. And then, of course, D.C. Sanford.
Okay.
Then continued over from where the post office was. You had a cafe there, okay, and I don't remember what the next office was, our doorway. I don't remember what that was, but in the corner was West Auto store.
That's right. Okay.
Then go in the corner there, you go left, same block, same, and that was Bank of Davie in this corner.
Yes.
Bank of Davie there.
Okay. Now, were you living in Moxville when Bank of Davie got robbed that night?
I don't remember that.
That might have been earlier.
I don't remember
I
that.
remember reading that story. Mr. Wall talked about that story in his
Yeah,
book.
I don't remember that.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
How about festivals and parades? Did they have parades when you were living there?
Well, I don't remember. I don't remember because, look, during the war years, everything was just shut down.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't do a whole lot of celebrating because everything was, like I say, pretty well closed down. Everybody was, closed mouth about stuff. You didn't talk a whole lot about anything. And of course, the street we lived on, and they would have blackouts during the war. Right here in Marksville, we had blackouts. The warden would come by and see a light, said, turn the light out, you're going to jail.
Wow.
So, and had a guard on the water tank, had a guard on the substation electrical, which was down on 64,
Okay.
where the armory is.
Uh-huh.
Across the street from the armory was a substation for the power.
Okay.
They had a gate there, guard. So
Wow.
things,
I never imagined that Moxville would be in blackout mode.
yeah, we had blackout. Yeah, sure did.
Wow.
There was even a CC camp in Moxville.
I did know about that, although I don't know much about it.
Well, I remember walking by it, and I was a kid. This is we lived before the war. We lived at a house behind Lonnie DeWiggins' store.
Okay.
Okay, but Daddy run a blacksmith shop downtown. And like my mother would fix lunch, fix it, and I'd get my bucket and take lunch to my daddy. And I'd walk down the street. And I remember walking by there, and I could see the tents all set up, And I think, well, I'd like to sleep in one of them, I didn't have anything like that. But, and then my brother, he joined, one of my older brothers, he joined the CCCs and went to Salt Lake City, Utah, I think's where he went.
Wow. What
And
kind
then,
of work did he do you know?
what kind of work he done?
Uh-huh.
Well, what they done was help people out that needed work done.
Okay.
Whatever needed to be done, they just group of people, men, go do it.
Okay.
And of course, the government paid them.
Uh-huh. I didn't realize they would send somebody from Davie County all the way out to Utah, though. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is. He was hoping to be here, but he wound up in Salt Lake City, Utah. And then in 1941, when the war broke out, he joined the Marine Corps.
Okay.
And he didn't come home.
Oh.
In other words, he was gone forever.
Wow.
My mother didn't know where he was at, how he was, nothing, because back then, he didn't
Oh,
have
wow.
things like you do now.
Yeah.
And I finally got a letter or two, and he wound up in South Pacific, in the whole war, South Pacific. See, then they didn't, once they went over, they didn't come back.
Oh, wow. They were there for the duration.
Yes,
Whew, your poor mother.
yes, yes. And of course, then people had children in the military, they had a star in the window. Had stars in the window.
Okay.
So you could walk down the street, you could see what houses had people in the military.
Okay.
And that was, I thought about that later. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
You mentioned rationing early on. Talk a little bit about that. What was that like?
Well, it didn't affect us too much because we didn't buy a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But people that bought meat, you know, I don't know how many ration tickets they got according to how many was in the family, I guess. But we didn't get hardly any. We got them, but we didn't hardly even spend them because we had our own stuff.
Okay.
Grew our own stuff, had our own meat, had most of the stuff except sugar and coffee, stuff like that. You know, you couldn't have, but couldn't grow. But we trade chickens and eggs and meat and whatever. See, Wade Smith, W.W. Smith, run the store at Sherfield
Okay.
at that
Oh,
time.
Yes.
And of course here, he lives here in Moxville, and he run the Chrysler Plymouth place.
Okay.
He and Dwiggins.
Uh-huh.
I forget what his first name was. Dwiggins.
I want to say Dwight, but I don't know if that's right.
I don't remember
That's okay.
but his son, the Chrysler Plymouth place, and they sold international trucks. It's where the police department's at. That
Gotcha.
was Chrysler Plymouth place. Okay, all right. Later years, see, his son, I forget what his name is now. I don't remember. But he gave that to the city.
Oh,
He gave,
okay.
you know, that's the way I understand it. He gave this property to the city,
Okay.
used for the police department.
Well, that's why that road is named Dwiggins Road then.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense now. I didn't know that.
yeah.
Cool. Okay, so tell me about your first car and first telephone and first whatevers. Can you
Well,
remember?
First power we had was, of
Yeah.
course, at REA, a little electric corporation, started after World War II. And that was the greatest thing ever happened, you know, we thought. And of course, we didn't have a phone at that time till Moxville, you know, was phones there. We didn't have one at the house, but there was phones available,
Okay.
you know, at that time. But we didn't have one out in the country. But my first car, my daddy never drove a car.
Really?
Never drove a car in his life, never owned one. My mother didn't drive. So, but I worked summertime for when I get stuff done at home. I'd go help other people, and they'd pay me. You know, I'd save my money up a couple of years, and bought me an old Model A coupe,
Okay.
$250.
Oh my goodness.
$250 I gave for it, and drove it for 2 years, and sold it for $300.
Okay, that was a pretty good deal, I would say.
Yeah. So, you know, and I was 15 years old now. I bought this car when I was 15
You're kidding.
and learned to drive it. Never drove anything in my life. I learned to drive it. In fact, I went and bought it and drove it home. No license, no insurance, no nothing. And so I drove it and learned to drive. Went and got my license. Go get my license. All right. Highway Patrol Station was over on the County Home Road,
Okay.
which is I forget what to call it now. Turn there by Ingersoll Rand,
Yep,
out that street.
yep.
It's over about where the jails, the prison's at over there.
Yes.
That's where it was at.
Okay.
Okay, so I think about this a while and I said, well, now I need my license. So I got in the car and went over there one day. I went in. Here I am, 16, and he gave me paperwork. I filled everything out. Gave it to him. He said, okay, let's go for a ride. We went for a ride. He said, come back. Okay, you okay? says, who's gonna sign for you? And I said, well, I guess my daddy, he's over town. Said, well, let's get in the car, go get him, bring him back. I no license, no nothing. And he said, just get in the car, go get him, bring him back. So I did. So think of that. Think of that happening today.
That's just a tad different from the way we do it today.
Yep.
Particularly since it would have been a gear shift car, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there was no automatic transmission back then,
Yeah.
right?
Was the car automatic? No, it was gear shift, right?
It's geared to floor, in the floor,
Yep.
shifting floor. And this now here does too.
Okay.
Same thing. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
There wasn't no such thing as an automatic then.
Uh-uh.
It's about 53, I think, is when the automatics come out.
Okay.
General Motors, I think, came out with the first slip-o-matic, they call them.
Slip-o-matic, that would be me. If I were driving, it would be a slip-o-matic.
Yeah. Yeah, they wasn't too much.
What a hoot.
A brother of mine, he had a 36 Ford, I had a 36. And Big Jim Smith was a city cop here in town. So we was talking one day and he says, we need to get him to chase us. He had one of those Chevrolet slip-o-matics and a Powerglide, and he said, okay, what we're gonna do? I said, I'll tell you what, let's go uptown some night. He's parked on the square, sitting there about half asleep, the car. And let's go uptown and we'll park in the alley here and get ready. And we'll time that light, stoplight, on the stoplight in town, one on the square.
Okay.
I'll time this light where we catch it green. We'll take off and we'll turn left there at the light and we'll squeal our tire and get him to chase us. So here we go. I went first, he followed me, both of us squealed the tire, and here he started up, took off after us. We come out North Main Street, and Hilltop Restaurant was out here, then Miller's and
Okay.
Hilltop Barbecue. And we come out here and pulled in there and stopped, went in and drinking coffee when he got out there. He come in there, drove around, looked, and went on his way.
Oh my gosh. You got away with it.
But, nobody on the street, nothing going on then. Back then, it's dark, at most time after dark, that was it.
Everything, the sidewalks were all but rolled up, huh? So the worst offense that you could have been guilty of is waking him up from his nap. He didn't even bother.
Yeah, he was something else. He was city cop for a long time.
Okay,
Of course, I worked with his son later years.
okay.
But I tell you, them was the days.
How about first television? Do you remember when you first got a television?
It was about 57 probably.
Okay. That's early.
57. I got it at Western Auto Store
Okay,
in the corner over there
yep,
where I bought it.
okay,
It's black and white. You pick up about 3 or 4 channels.
Okay.
It was the greatest thing ever happened though, you know.
You had to get up and turn the knob to change the channels or to adjust the volume.
Move the antennas around, maybe pick something up. But later years, you got your big antennas on top of the house, and
Yep.
that hipped out.
Yep.
But I'll tell you what, my uncle, Willie Boyd, he would come on Saturday night and watch TV. He didn't have a TV.
Okay.
He'd come to our house, didn't live too far away.
Okay.
He'd come to our house and watch TV. And my mother was living with us at that time, so we'd all get together and watch TV on Saturday night. But People don't do that anymore, do they?
No, not really.
They out partying, whatever.
Or this,
Yeah.
or this. Everybody's watching their own individual
Yeah.
thing on their own screens. So you grew up here and you moved away for about 30 years and then you came back. Which changes did you notice most?
In Moxville, not a whole lot.
Okay.
Not a whole lot, but the biggest change that I've seen since I've been here, and it was happening then, is all you small businesses, most of you small businesses really hurt. When they built the interstate, Walmart come to town,
Right.
Lowe's come to town, and of course Caldwell Lumber, they're hardware, they're still in business, but it hurt a lot of people.
Okay.
And I hate to see that happen, but that's progress, I guess.
That's what they say.
I guess, but I hate to see that. And of course, Walmart, you know, it's a big thing, and a lot of people go there. But I'll try not to go unless they just really need to.
That's me too. I'd rather not go there. Fair enough. What would you say, what would be the most important things that you would want your children and grandchildren to know about your life?
Well, I want them to know that I've done my best, tried to raise them right, and tried to provide what I could. Of course, lean years, you know, starting out in the 50s, you know, is tough.
Yep.
And it really tough, but we had buy groceries and buy gas for the car and pay on the home, and maybe you had enough left to get an ice cream cone or something. But that's about it.
Right. Pretty slim pickings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I always, you know, I always tried to do the best I could.
Yep. I suspect that they realize that.
Yeah.
What would you say are your favorite all-time memories? What are the ones that you like, in addition to the snake chasing
And the skinny dip.
and the skinny dipping?
Well, we've done a lot of stuff. I'm fortunate enough later years to have a place on the lake. We had a home on the lake, and we'd go up and spend weekends and holidays and stuff, you know, later on. And of course, we made trips to the beach, and I was fortunate enough to have a good job then where I could afford it, and we'd go to the beach for 2 or 3 weeks, sometimes a month
Okay.
in the fall.
Yep.
And enjoyed that. And but now we try to get together. Of course, this virus thing's come up. You know, we can't really have outings, but we get together. The whole family gets together quite a bit. There's about what 30 some come. You know, most of the time.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you start after New Year's. You know, you got Easter and all this holidays coming up, and Father's Day, of course, and we had, of course, my wife was here, had Mother's Day, and so she's been gone quite a while now.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what, one thing I forgot to ask you about, Libby mentioned one time that you saw when they brought wild horses in on the train,
Yes.
Yes.
and then what, ran them through downtown?
Yeah. Well, see, they bring them in on the train, and the cowboys come with them from Montana.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Okay,
And
and
this
they
was
unload them.
back in what year? What year was this, Daddy? Do you remember?
This was during the war years. I'd say about 43 or 44.
Okay.
Maybe only into 45, because you couldn't get gasoline to run the
Gotcha.
tractors, and they didn't have tractors. You know, didn't make any. And few people had tractors. You know, a lot of times you couldn't get gas for them, so they used horses.
Okay.
You know, on the farms,
Right.
and that's the reason they brought them in here.
Okay.
And they'd have to bring them in. They were wild, but they'd unload them down at the train station.
Okay.
And they'd come up Depot Street and across Depot Street, across the square, down to Depot on the other side, down to where where the Junkers Mill is.
Right.
Okay. All right, to the right over there, my daddy had a blacksmith shop there.
Gotcha.
Had a corral there.
Okay.
All right, bring them in the corral, and he'd have to shoe them.
Okay.
First thing he'd have to do is shoe them.
Okay.
Before they could use them on the farm and break them. They'd have to take them and break them to work. But at that time, where Junkers Mill is, was it was a cotton gin, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
It was a cotton gin there. I forget the name of it. And before that, in fact, I think they was I forget what it was there before the cotton gin. But I remember bringing cotton down there and selling cotton at that
Okay.
place.
Wow.
But my daddy had and I tell you what, if you ever down there, look out that way. There's a big walnut tree out there.
Okay.
My daddy's shop was close to that walnut tree.
Okay. I'll
Yeah.
look for it. I will. I go down there often.
Yeah, that's in behind where Presnell's tire shop was at, 'cause he's left from there now. He's moved from there,
Okay.
'cause I think they're gonna sell that whole block. But that's where his shop was at, and but things are tough then. And of course, Dwiggins and Smith built that building there, that brick building.
Okay.
It's on, it goes up to Main Street, okay? And in the basement down here, Wade Smith had a poultry place, dressed chickens and hauled to New York.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and I believe that the black man or colored man, what you want to say, it runs the funeral home on Depot Street. What's the name of that place?
Oh, Sturdivant?
Sturdivant.
Yeah.
Clyde Sturdivant. If I remember right, Clyde Sturdivant drove a truck for him.
Wow. I had never heard that.
And then later years, I'm pretty sure, Clyde Sturdivant hauled a mail from Marksville to Winston.
Okay. Had not heard that. Good deal.
I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. I remember him driving.
Okay. What other stories do you have for me today?
Tell me about the freezer locker that was on there where Energy United's at.
Yeah, there was a freezer locker there at that time.
Have you heard of that?
I don't remember who run it, but it had a pretty big business going.
Because you worked for them there for a while, didn't you? Didn't you help deliver ice?
No, I worked the ice plant.
Oh, the ice plant. Okay, that's.
The ice plant was down the railroad.
Yes.
Right below the picnic ground.
Right.
Go down in there. That's where the ice plant was at.
Okay. But I had never heard about the freezer building either.
Yeah, there's a freezer locker there
Freezer
on
locker.
the corner.
Okay.
On it.
But ice plant, it run a big business. But see, a distant cousin of mine, I went down to get a job, and the guy says, "What can you do?" I said, "Well, I don't know, but I'd like to try." At that time, that's the way, and said, "Okay." And about this time, a distant cousin walked up, Mr. Wright, and he said, he can work with me. He said, "Okay." So I go with him. All right, so you load up your truck, it's 100-pound blocks of ice on the truck. Well, you take off, you work your route, and what people do, had ice boxes, didn't have refrigerators, had ice boxes. Okay, and you hang a sign up on the back porch or wherever the ice box is at, and it had a thing on it that said 50, 10, 25, 10, 5. Nickel, think about buying nickel worth of ice. 25 cents worth of ice. Or 50 cents worth of ice, think of that.
Oh my gosh.
All right, I said, how do you do this? He said, take the ice pick, chip it off. So that's a nickel. A little more, that's a dime. That's 25 cents. And
Yeah.
imagine this.
So did you deliver the ice plus collect the money?
Yes,
While
collected
you
the
were out on
money, turned the money in, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how often did somebody have to buy ice for their ice box?
But every day or so.
Okay.
Yeah. He had a regular route every day. see.
Okay.
But it's really, cause they had coal, sold coal,
Okay.
coal and ice, and hauled coal, and people had the big burners, coal burners in their house,
Uh-huh.
and they'd have from the outside in, have a coal chute,
Uh-huh.
and back up to the coal chute, load it up, just unload it.
Our first house here in town had a coal chute.
Yeah, I remember doing that.
Okay.
So,
How about that?
man alive, it's really something. I'll tell you what, those are some days, but things change so much, and which is good. And progress, the television and telephones, and just like the other day, I saw on the TV Japan's experiment with a jet car, flying car. They showed it test run. Of course, it was inside a control area, but the guy got in it, turned everything on, and of course you got a fan, a rotor here, I guess underneath, and whatever. He got everything going. He lifted that thing up, turned it around, up, down, backwards. It's like driving a car
Amazing.
on the ground.
I know somebody who'd really get into that.
I don't like heights.
You do? Oh.
Okay, think about.
Minutes on the
When I
back.
was a kid, it's really something to get a comic book, read Dick Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
With the wrist
Yeah.
radio.
Yeah, that's right.
Think about this really come true.
Yeah, you're
And
right.
like the Jetsons on TV, this has come true.
Yep. You're
So,
absolutely right.
but
So you've lived through seeing all of these things actually happen.
yes, it's really something. But you talk about what I like from my kids. See, I stress my kids, finish school. All right, and of course my middle daughter, she went to college, and then my grandsons went to college, and I didn't finish high school. And my father, as far as I know, my father didn't hardly have any education at all. My mother, I think, went maybe 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
And back then, of course, it was different, but I stress, to do this. So, as you go through the generations, things get better.
Right. More things are possible.
Yes, more things are possible, and things are happening like, like my grandfather. I don't know how much education he had, but my father didn't have hardly any. Like I say, didn't drive a car, never owned a car, nothing. So then I owned a car. My kids went to school, high school, and then some of them was college, and so on down the line. Why, things get better.
Things get better.
Yeah.
We're gonna cut it off here because I don't want to exhaust you, because I don't want Libby to be mad at me.
Okay.
But this has been wonderful, and I thank you.
Well, glad to do it.
And we'll
And
see
I
what we
hope
can
I
turn
hope
out.
I answered some of your questions.
Oh, you did. You did a great job.
Okay.
A lot of the names and a lot of the places I recognized from working in the library, but a lot of this was also new to me, and I love that.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, one thing, see, during the war, really didn't talk about things, just like Tom Furby, you know, dropping the bomb. See, at that time, we didn't know anything about it for maybe 3 or 4 days, maybe a week
After the
before
fact.
you heard anything about it.
Right.
And see, I knew where they lived, and his youngest sister, Carolyn, I was in grade school with her.
Okay.
So I knew her and knew Bill,
Uh-huh.
but I didn't know Tom. He was
Okay.
older, you know.
Right.
But things just was slower. Everything's on such a fast pace now.
You're
I
right.
can't keep up.
Well, yours sounds like you're doing a better job than I am most days.